Games are still on. I normally wait till the games are done to do my video, but I'm getting my butt kicked and I'm throwing in the towel. I would like to say that I was totally wrong about most of these games tonight. Dinwiddie had a good game, almost 10 times value. Brandon Rush is not doing anything. Marcus Morris did not do anything. I just had a. This is just bad. I was wrong all across the board, and I have to admit that. Okay, DeMarcus Cousins dropped an 80 bomb. Jimmy Butler and DeRozan both in the 60s. It was just bad. So I'm throwing in the towel. It's just a bad night for me, and this is not like it. Mike Conley in the 20s is not like him. Gasol in that matchup should have been better. Solomon Hill 15. He has not. He's been in the 20s. So he just had a 50-point game, 33, and now 15. Etwan Moore always in the 20s, 22, 22, 21. He's giving me 10. And Ricky Rubio and Jang are still playing. It's still early, just at the end of the first. So I think those two can still make it. But regardless, I'll be lucky if I hit 200 points. Probably the lowest score I ever had playing this thing. But I'm moving on from it. I'm gonna go on to tomorrow's slate. Just get right into it and just take tonight's loss and just deal with it. All right. Um, Charlotte versus Orlando. Plumlee, Ramon Sessions out. Kid Gilchrist seems to be dealing with something. He's probable, so he most likely play on the Charlotte side of the ball. For those new to my videos, I aim for 6 times value for every player that I pick. So I make sure that they're capable of getting 6 times value, that they have been doing it consistently recently, and that they have some upside as well. So if you're looking for 6 times value and you times that by your salary, that's about 300 points. Most times, some people will exceed that. Some people will fall short of it, but it will always be around that 300 mark. And in most days, your cash and your 50/50s, your tournaments, your um, cash games. For the majority of these games, we've been cashing. If you look at my videos in the comment section, you'll see that we got a good culture. People been winning. Had a rough weekend, but started off the week right yesterday, and then tonight I'm just getting my butt kicked. I don't think that's gonna happen tomorrow. I'm actually excited about tomorrow's slate. Some very good games, so I'm just gonna get right into it. All right. Charlotte versus Orlando. Kemba Walker, he needs 48 for 6 times value, and he's been in the 30s and teens. All right. So I'm not gonna pick on Kemba for that reason. Batum needs about 40. He's since coming back from injury, been in the 20s, so I'm gonna wait for him to heat back up before considering him. Kid Gilchrist needs about 30. He's been in the mid to low 20s. I'm not gonna get to him tomorrow. Marvin Williams, he was streaking up when the injuries to Zeller and Kaminsky and whatnot. But now that Zeller and Kaminsky are back, his usage rate started going down and his production has also been fluctuating. So I'm gonna leave Marvin Williams alone. Kaminsky is interesting. He needs mid 30s to make me happy, and he's been 31. So I think he's trending back up. We know before he went out with the injury, his price was in the 7,000s, 6,000s, and now he's mid five. So he could shoot back up and have a big game. He's someone that you want to consider, but I'm gonna stay away from him. And Cody Zeller needs upper 20s, around 30, and he can go from 14 to 37 to 21 to 28. It's too up and down for my liking. So I'm going to stay away from the Charlotte side of the ball. On the Orlando side, Peyton seems to be everyone's favorite. For this price, he's going to need mid 40s. His last three has been in the 30s and 20s, so I'm not going to consider him. Fournier needs mid 30s, and then we know that it took overtime to get him to 31. He's been in the 20s and even the teens. Very inconsistent. I'm not gonna get to 48 tomorrow. Terrence Ross also could be up and down. It just depends if his shots are falling or not. I'm not gonna pick on Terrence Ross. 27 to 17 to 11. It's just too up and down for my liking. Jeff Green needs about 18. He's been in the single digits. That will piss me off if I had it on my team. Aaron Gordon, mid 30s. He has not even touched 30s. He give you 10, 27, 28. For 5,600, that's not what we want. Vucevic, on the other hand, he needs about mid 40s to make us happy, and he's done that 3 out of the last 4 games. So Vucevic is the only person in this game that I would consider. Um, for his price, we need just about mid 40s and 48, 48. This game, when he had 28, was a blowout. He only played 25 minutes, but then the other game, 48, 41, 46. So consistent that it's going to be hard for me to fade him for less than 8K tomorrow. So I love Vucevic, and that's it for this game. Indiana versus Boston. Everyone is healthy. We could start on the Boston side of the ball. Isaiah Thomas for that price needs mid 40s, and he's been in the 30s every game. 30s, 30s. I don't know why his price is still 8K. I guess it's the usage on his team. But he's not giving me the upside that I want. I don't want Marcus Smart or any of his backups. A.V. Bradley just had a big game. But prior to that game, he's been in the low 20s. So I'm going to wait for him to heat up a little more. He's coming back from a long injury, and I think he'll be very good once he gets back to snuff. But to have him for 6K when he's in the 20s more than anything else, I think they're just basing that off of that one 40-point game that he just had. Jay Crowder needs mid 30s. He did just have mid 30s. 31, 45. So he's been pretty consistent in the 30s and even up in the 40s. Against this team in 35 minutes, 27.5. He's someone worth some consideration. I'll pull him over. Olenek been up and down. He can get you 25 or 14, 22 or 15. It's not something you want to gamble with. Stay away from Olenek, okay? Al Horford, on the other hand, has been very consistent. He needs 40 to make us happy. In the last 10 days, he's been averaging 40 points. One can argue that Isaiah Thomas been out, and that's why his point total came up. But as I'm looking at his production, he's filling up the stat sheet, man. For a center, he's rebounding better than he has been. He has 5+ assists, 2 to 4 blocks a game, a steal per game, and scoring in the high teens, even in the 20s. That would definitely get you 40 on a regular basis. Um, Indiana's been struggling against the bigs. I like Harford tomorrow. I'm gonna put him over as well. He's been fit, and he fits our system to a T. He needs 40 and 40, 50, 40, 40. So he's consistently hitting 6 times value, and then he showed some 52-point upside. So Al Horford is a type of prototype for our system. Okay, on the Indiana side of the ball, I think Jeff Teague will do well. His stock is trending back upwards. We know that he was a constant mid 30s to 40 players. That's pretty much what we need from him tomorrow. In 2 games against this team, he's averaging 35 minutes, playing 39.1. It's just that his home away splits, oh no, they're pretty equal. I could pick on some Jeff Teague as well tomorrow. I'm fine considering Jeff Teague. I liked him yesterday. I didn't pick him, and he did well. I think his stock is trending back up. Whatever was going on with him, I think he's shaking it, and he's gearing up for the playoffs. CJ Miles, it's too up and down. We need about low 20s. He can get you 25, then 13, then 10, then 12. That's just not what you want. Monte Ellis off the bench, he needs about 20. He's averaging 20 in the last 10 games. His last four, 23, 19, 27, 22. So I'm going to hold him on to him because I do like to pay down for my shooting guard. And someone that consistent for the minimal price is something that I would definitely be interested in. He's good for a point per minute against this team. In 34 minutes, he's put up 29 fantasy points. And he's been getting mid 20s for minutes. So I think Monte Ellis stands out to me as a nice value for tomorrow. And for right now, I'm just going to put him on the side and definitely consider him for tomorrow. Paul George been way too up and down. He needs 48. He can go from 44 to 27, 57 to 37. So that's too up and down. We don't know which Paul George we're gonna get. Um, and Jay Crowder is a good defender. If he's gonna be on Paul George, that worries me. In 41 minutes, he put up 38 points against this team. We need 40s from him. So that's a lot of minutes. I think that may have been an overtime game. Not interested in Paul George because of that stat. All right. Um, Thad Young is another guy that I think is trending in the right direction. In 2 games playing 30 minutes against this team, he's averaging 35.3 points. And then we need mid 20s from him. And 2 games in a row in the mid 20s. Before he got hurt, he was consistently around 30. So I think he's trending back. And this is the matchup that he can excel. He's getting good minutes and he's producing well, so I'm gonna consider him. He kind of fits the system a little bit. Miles Turner needs mid 30s. He's another guy. He can go from 32 to 12, 32, 41, 28, 22, a little bit all over the place. In 2 games, playing 29 minutes, he's averaging 30 points, but we want a little more than 30 from him. We want some 40-point upside, and he's not that type of guy, so um, gonna stay away from him tomorrow as well. And that's it for that game. Moving on to Atlanta versus Washington. This game almost screwed us last night. We still hit the money, but we're gonna fix the mistake that we made last night. Starting on the Atlanta side of the ball, Schroeder against Washington. I'm gonna be careful. We need 40s from Schroeder. Schroeder hasn't been in the 40s, 30s, 20s, 20s. Once in a while he'll get into the 40s, but that's no. It's not as consistent as we would prefer. Tim Hardaway Jr. in these mid 30s, and he just played 33 minutes in a decent matchup and only gave us 16 points. I'm not interested in him. He disappointed last night, and I'm not going to go there again tonight. Thabo Shafiloso, on the other hand, he's good for a point per minute. We know that, right? In 3 games against this team, averaging 21 points, he's putting up 21 fantasy points. And whenever he plays, he's a point per minute kind of guy for the most part. I think tomorrow, he'll get mid 20s, upper 20s with the injuries, and I would definitely pick on some Thabo tomorrow as well. Torian Prince, for some reason, is 5K out of nowhere. He was just 3,500. He was chalk and did nothing with it. I guess part of the algorithm that they have is that if a lot of people pick you and your ownership is high, then that contributes to your price. That's the only reason that I can think they will go from 3,500 to 5,000. Do not pick Torian Prince for $5,000. That's just very risky. I don't think that's something that you're gonna want to do. Ilyasoba let me down yesterday. He didn't quite hit what he needed to. Washington can be a team that give up a lot of points to opposing power forwards, but I'm not interested. I don't know the new game plan with this team. With these guys going to be out a couple games, so like Dwight Howard, I expected to have more touches. He only took 9 shots with Millsap and Bazemore out, so I don't know what they're doing down there. I do know that Cephalosha is the cheapest one out of all of them, and he's pretty much consistent. But for Dwight Howard, we need 40s. We haven't really been getting 40s from him. It's been a disappointment. I'm just gonna fade that situation. On the other side of the ball, if John Wall is going up against Schroeder, I would love that, right? But John Wall has been in some decent matchups, and he's just not the John Wall that we used to seeing. We need 50 to be happy from him, and he's had 30 in the last 2. He's played this team 3 times, and he's only averaging 41 fantasy points. So I think he's running out of gas right now. He's just not showing me that consistency. I'm gonna be aware of John Wall. Bradley Beal needs 40s. Another guy, he can go from 24 to 29 to 29 to 35. This is a good matchup for him again, but there hasn't been the consistency there. I'm going to be careful. Bogdanovich needs mid 20s. He can go from 27 to 16 for his price. I don't think it's reliable. Otto Porter has been pretty. He did have, yeah, he's been in the 20s and teens. I'm not getting to Otto Porter. I thought that he was getting better. I know he went through a slump, but I thought he was recuperating, but he still looks to be struggling. Markeith Morris needs mid 30s, 21, 19, and 23. So I'm not really interested in anyone on the Washington Wizards. Gortat needs about 30. Now Gortat's price very cheap. 4,600 for Gortat. Oh man, that might just be like a steal. We know that Gortat can get us 30 because it's just that he's been at 13, 27, 19, 20. And he doesn't seem to be getting the minutes. So they're giving his minutes to Mahinmi. Mahinmi played 17 minutes the last game and he got 4.5. Um, I'm trying to see who benefited. Jason Smith, maybe? Yeah. So Jason Smith for 4K, getting more minutes. He can be sneaky, but I'll stay away from Jason Smith as well for tomorrow. Moving on to Detroit versus Chicago. Now, tonight's game was very interesting. Chicago is fighting for playoff spots on a back-to-back. I do expect them to play. Both of these teams are on back-to-backs. Expect Robert Lopez to be suspended. Him and Serge Ibaka had a literally fist fight. They both, I don't know. I know Robert Lopez threw a shot at Serge and it missed, and then Serge counterpunched. I think he caught him. It was a big bruise on the side of his face. So it was a fist fight. They really got into a boxing match, and I think Robin Lopez is gonna be out. Rondo had a nice game today. Put up unbelievable numbers. But as far as that, other than Lopez being out, everybody is pretty much healthy. I'll start on the Chicago side of the ball. So Rondo's really showing out right now. He was hot today. I'm not counting on Rondo to stay hot 2 days in a row. I'm not going to chase that. He can go from 13, 24, 42. He's all over the place, okay? We need mid 30s from him. Um, in 2 games against this team, he's put up 32 points. It's just that Detroit, we see Detroit give up a lot of points to Dinwiddie today. So I'm not going to say that they're pretty tough on defense against the point guard. I'm gonna consider Rondo, only because with Lopez and D Wade out, I think he's second to Jimmy Butler. I think he'll take a lot of shots tomorrow, try to get to the line. His assist numbers are gonna be up. It is a back to back, but I don't think I'll be able to get to him. As a matter of fact, I like Rondo more than I like Teague. I can say that honestly. Or I could just move Cephalosha to the forward for now, put Rondo in the guard, and then that way, as I go on with the video, I can sub guys out. But I can consider some Rondo most definitely. Jimmy Butler needs 50s. We saw him drop 50 today, and he's been hot, man. 50s today, well 60s today, right? 60s today and 40-40 the 2 games. So he fits the system. I can say that I like Jimmy Butler more than nobody on my team right now. He's just too high priced. I'm not gonna chase that. I'm not chasing these big points for him. It says that it's a good matchup for him, and I think that it is. He's at home, and he's all that his team has. It's just that he's been playing so well. I have to get. I like Jimmy Butler more than I like Jay Crowder. Yeah, I can say that and be truthful. So there's a spot for Jimmy. It's gonna be hard for me to fade Jimmy tomorrow the way that he's been going off. He will be chalk. I'm imagining with these numbers that he's putting up, but rightfully so, man. He's playing defense. He's rebounding. He's attacking the rim. He's really putting his all out on the line. I really don't like him, but for his game to be on national TV and for me to see the way that he's going off, I like Jimmy Butler, even if it's a back to back. Let's see how he does normally on back to backs playing big minutes. So his last back to back, he went from 32 minutes to 38 minutes, and then from 22 up to 56. So you know that he'll put his all on the court and fight. I'm gonna try to pick on some Jimmy Butler if I get to it, right? Um, Jimmy Valentine, I'm not interested in him or Zipser. Zipser kind of showed out today. I'm gonna see. Look at the. It's a shame that they lost. Um, 12 and 6, 18, 19 and 6, 24. Yeah, so Zips had a very good game. It's just that I think Zips was in like the 30s today, over 10 times value. But he plays 30 minutes most games, and he really doesn't do that on a regular basis. So in 19 minutes, I'm not going to pick on some Zips. So he hasn't showed any consistency. That's what I look for. Mirotic had a good game. So outside of this 10-point game, he's been pretty much in the mid 20s. Again, they're gonna need his scoring tomorrow. I can consider Mirotic. Let's see if I like him more than Thab or no. Thad Young. Um, I can say that Mirotic has been more consistent and swap him out for Thad Young, absolutely. And then with Rob out, Laverne becomes interesting. I'm not gonna play around with this. I'm not playing the guessing game. Feliciano against Drummond, I'm not gonna mess around. Looking on the Detroit side of the ball, Reggie Jackson, he's mid 30s. He's been struggling. He lives in the 20s and the teens. I'm not even going to mess with him. or his backup in Ish Smith. Um, Caldwell Pope, Marcus Morris, and Tobias Harris, any one of those guys can have a big game. So I'm not really interested in any of them, to be honest. It's just too. It's like you got to get lucky to get the right one on any given night. And I'm not really trying to go there. Okay, Drummond has he needs upper 40s. It's a good matchup for him, especially with Rob Lowe not gonna be in. Rob Lopez might get suspended for more than one game, man. You can't be throwing punches at people's face like that. They both probably be out for like I say 3 games for all of them. No pay. But whatever. I'm gonna stay away from this game for the most part. I'm not really interested. Philly versus OKC. Russell Westbrook is on the slate. I am not paying up for Russell Westbrook after that dud that he just put up. He is at home, which makes it interesting. Um, Rashawn Holmes for 6K. So let's break it down, right? Let's look at Oklahoma first. Westbrook would need 80 to hit value. In 36 minutes, he's put up about 60 on this team, and that's one assist shy of a triple double. So if we give him another assist, well, I think he'll get into the 60s or 70s. But for that price, um, being stuck in the 60s, and we need 8. Let's see, 13 times 6 times for value. Let's see if he fits my system, right? 131 times 6. He needs about 78. And he doesn't get into the 70s that consistent for me. It's like the 60s is like where he likes to be, and then he'll get into the 70s and 80s. But for his price on a big slate, not doing it. I don't pay up on big slates. All right, I'm just gonna chill with Russell Westbrook. But his teammate Oladipo, I do like tomorrow. Outside of this one bad game against Sacramento, he is very consistent in the 30s, and that's what I like. Someone in the mid 30s consistently. Um, Love Oladipo tomorrow at home. He does better at home. Um, I would take out. I don't know. I would get rid of Jeff Teague for Oladipo. That's reasonable. Move Rondo up into the point guard and get Oladipo in. Absolutely, that's reasonable for me. Continuing on the Thunder. Andre Roberson at home does play well, but he's very up and down. He go from 9 to 20, 27 to 14. We need about mid 20s from him. I don't think I could rely on him getting me that tomorrow. I'm just not really interested. Taj Gibson, since he's been in the starting lineup, he's been doing all right. But the last 2 games, 17 and 8, that's very concerning. I'm gonna leave him alone. Now we know that centers do very well against this Philadelphia team, right? We need just 30 from Steven Adams. Steven Adams had a rough time in OKC, but before that, he put up 43 against Sacramento, and he's been in the mid 20s. Although the matchup is golden, I'm going to stay away from Steve Adams tomorrow. I just don't think I could get there, but this is the matchup for him. Ennis Cantor, same thing. He needs about 30. Um, I think Ennis Cantor is worth some consideration, but Al Horford and Vucevic are just better options. I'm not going to get rid of them for Ennis Cantor. So I'm all set with the Oklahoma with Oladipo. On the Philly side, TJ McConnell needs above 30. He's too up and down 31, 21, 19, 32. I'm not sure about that. And his backup is a no go. TLC, quote unquote. I'm not going to mess with any of these guards of small forward against Oklahoma because although Klay Thompson just lit them up. Klay Thompson's shot is so pure that it doesn't take much for him to light up a team, right? Oklahoma plays very good defense. In 22 minutes, Stauskas only got 19. Oladipo plays D, and so does Andre Roberson. So I'm gonna chill out with Stauskas or TLC for the most part. Small forward Covington just put up a 50 bomb in overtime. In 31 minutes, he's only getting 26.3. If I like Covington, it will have to come out tomorrow once I see that if Okafor is gonna remain out, I like Covington because I feel like Covington is will play more of a power forward kind of role and crash the boards. The game where he went off for 50, he had 13 rebounds. So I think they're gonna use him more as a big, and I'll like him at that point. But Rashawn Holmes just dropped the 50 bombs. He will need mid 30s. He's been in the 30s consistently, and that's before Okafor has been ruled out. Against this team, he's played 11 minutes and put up 15 fantasy points. Okay, let's see what's going on with Okafor. The Sixers have no plans to shut down Okafor for the rest of the season and are considering him day to day. His right knee. So I'm gonna say Okafor is out, just given how well Holmes played. Plus, if he's questionable, they might as well keep him out. You know what I mean? Why push the issue if they're already out the playoffs? It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm gonna go with Sean Holmes. Who to take out? Vucevic is like someone you just can't take out, man. I know that he might not get me the 8 times 48, but for someone to live in the 40s like that, once he gets the minute, and Charlotte's not a force down low. So I'm gonna hold on to Vucevic and give it a Horford. I know Horford's been doing well, but Isaiah Thomas is back. He did do well with Isaiah Thomas back at just about 40, but his history against this team is not great, and I like Rashawn Holmes more than Al Horford. So Vucevic and Rashawn Holmes, if Okafor remains out, are gonna be my two um, centers for tomorrow. Okay, and that's it for this game. Cleveland versus Denver. So Wilson Chandler and Arthur are questionable. Um, on the Cleveland side of the ball, Deron Williams is questionable. If Kyle Korver misses, they said that they're gonna start J.R. Smith. I read something earlier, so let's break those games down. Kyrie Irving is in a good spot right here, man. It's gonna be hard for me to fade Kyrie Irving. Man, the guy's been playing great, and so let's look at his breakdown. Right, Lakers are up pace team. He's averaging. I just want to check and see what the Lakers game looked like because I had DeAndre Jordan. I had a winner. I think I had a winner in my lineup from last night. And I took out DeAndre Jordan because I was worried about stuff that I probably shouldn't have been worried about. But I'm just curious to take a break and see what DeAndre Jordan is looking at right now. 8 rebounds and 4 points. So right now that's 16 at the end of the first quarter. I think I'm starting to feel like I would have had a better game than having Gasol. But on the same note, it's looking like it's heading towards a blowout on the Lakers side. Everybody likes Clarkson. He's doing nothing. D'Angelo Russell's doing nothing. Zubac seems to be the one that's the best pick right now. Just looking at the Lakers game. But back to the slate breakdown. So Kyrie Irving, right? Fast-paced Lakers, 50 bomb. Utah, which is more like a slow pace, 30s. Detroit, slow pace, 30s. Fast pace Houston, 47. Orlando 45, slow Detroit 30s, Miami 40s, Atlanta in a great matchup 70, Milwaukee. So Kyrie Irving stands out to me, man. I think this game right here is gonna be first of all, Denver gives it up to um opposing point guards, right? Kyrie Irving, his shot is so wet. I mean, his field goal percentage, 15 for 21. You know what I mean? Um, 8 for 19, 9 for 14, 10 for 23. He's a scoring machine, man. I'm gonna try to see if I can get to some Kyrie. I will get rid of Rondo and put Kyrie in. Absolutely. And then J.R. Smith is two up and down. He needs mid 20s. He's had 13, 19 in his last two. That's enough for me to move on. LeBron James against Denver is another one worth consideration. Just that he needs 66. It's a little expensive. I don't like paying up that high for players on slates like these. So I'm gonna pump the brakes on LeBron James and move forward. Um, Kevin Love needs mid 40s. He's back to the old Kevin Love, man. He's had 42 in the Lakers game, and he only played 26 minutes to get it. He had 15 rebounds. I don't know if he's gonna get that much against Denver. Denver got a big interior. Um, I'm more hyped about more Kyrie than Kevin Love. I prefer Kyrie. I think Denver down low could be a little bit tough. Tristan Thompson. Um, this game is just gonna be high scoring, man. I think because Cleveland's been working on their 3 pointers. Denver, we know, like to run and gun. I think this game is gonna be a very good game. But I'm gonna Christian. I already got my centers down pack. I think Vucevic and Holmes are two good centers to have. So I'm not gonna get to Tristan Thompson on the Denver side of the ball. Jameer Nelson's been okay, but he's too up and down. 20, 43, 28, 23. I'm going to stay away from him and his backups. Will Barton, it looks like Wilson Chandler and those guys going to be back tomorrow. He is as up and down as it gets. He'll go from 50 to 19 to 50 to 37. In 22 minutes, he's put up 24 fantasy points against his team. Very volatile, and I'm not risking $7,500 on Will Barton. I'm sorry. He's a bench player, and I'm not paying up for bench players, all right? It's just that simple. Gary Harris, on the other hand, last night I was in love with him. I didn't pick him, and he still went off. He went off for 40 points. He needs mid 30s, and he has been in the 30s, like very consistent. So consistent. So I guess between him and Oladipo, they're like similar players. Um, do I like Gary Harris more than Oladipo? That's a good question. I'm gonna write his name down. Gary Harris more than Oladipo. So let's see who has the better matchup. Let's put them next to each other and see how we feel. So Gary Harris and Oladipo. So Gary Harris has the better matchup. Gary Harris is cheaper. In the last 10, Gary Harris is playing 37 minutes, 32 fantasy points. Oladipo is playing 32 minutes, 30 fantasy points. Against this team, Oladipo played 26 minutes with 18. And against this team, Harris played 29 minutes with 24. So I think I like Harris more. I'm going to go Gary Harris instead of Oladipo. By some analysis. Moving on with Denver. Let's see what's going on with Chandler. He's listed as questionable for tomorrow's game, which would make me like Harris even more. Because if Barton is going to do this small forward thing, then Harris is in a good spot. Dwight Arthur is really not important. He's like the oddest of men out. He's probably not in the rotation. Juancho needs mid 20s, and he's been pretty spot on in the mid 20s 23, 25, 18, 23. Against Cleveland, he's played 16 minutes, so he's about a point per minute. So if he plays mid 20s minutes, if Wilson Chandler and Darrell Arthur misses tomorrow, I'm going to pick on some Juancho. I think that's a good decision for me to make. Mason Plumlee, um, another guy, but he's center, and I'm already set with my center. But I don't hate the pick for Mason Plumlee. I think he's consistent in the 30s. Bigs against Cleveland, especially with Kevin Love back and him and Tristan Thompson, they kind of solidify that interior. So I'll be careful picking Jokic or Plumlee tomorrow. Jokic played Cleveland in 37 minutes, 52, which is pretty good. But he hasn't been hitting 6-time value. He doesn't have 70 side point upside. I'm not really big on Jokic for tomorrow. And that's that game. Milwaukee versus Sacramento. I doubt that I'm going to even mess with this game. Milwaukee, I guess, is fighting for a playoff spot. Sacramento has nothing to play for. I like to pick on Kufos for value, I think, at his price. So let's start with Sacramento so I can check Kufos out. Kufos just gave us a 10-point game, so But we know that Kufos is good for about a point per minute. I already got two solid centers. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to Kufos. Carly Stein, he's mid 30s. He can get you 31, 15, 51, 29. Very up and down. Skyler's been getting more run lately. He needs about 30, but he hasn't really. He's been 22, 19, 50, 27. So he's up and down. I'm not interested in Scal. Gary Temple, Buddy Hill needs 30. He just got 34, but the game before that, 14. The game before that, 11. So I'm not interested. I'm not really interested in anyone on the Kings. The Kings are done. Pretty much dead to me. Ty Lawson needs mid 20s. He goes from 27 to 17. Not interested. On the Milwaukee side of the ball, I really don't like picking anyone in this team. Very rare you're going to see me pick anyone on this team. Antetokounmpo needs 50s. He lives in the 30s and 40s, 20s, 40s, 30, 30. I'm not into that. Chris Middleton, I guess, can be interesting. He needs mid 30s. He's been 20, 33, 30, 21. I'm not interested in this game. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna waste too much time on it. Greg Monroe maybe. In 13 minutes, 16 points. He needs 30. He's been 24, 31, 28, 22. He's been all over the place as well. So I'm gonna stay away from Greg Monroe as well. And that's it for that game. I'm not messing around with. I'm not messing around with this New York Utah game either. Maybe some Porzingis, but that's let's check it out, right? So Derek Favors is now questionable. He might make his comeback. On the New York side of the ball, Derrick Rose is not a bad consideration. He just needs about 30. And Utah, we just saw Jeff Teague, who's struggling, do well against them. It's just that he needs 30. He's getting minutes. He's on the road. In 36 minutes, he put up 35 against this team. I like Derrick Rose for 5.4. I have a good feeling about it. I think point guards can thrive. It's just that Derrick Rose gets a lot of his points from that drive to the basket, and Rudy Gobert is a rim protector. I don't think he's gonna drive to the basket so willfully tomorrow. But he already. Let's look at the last game that they played and see who was in. So Knicks versus Jazz. Um, so the Jazz beat them. The Knicks were at home, so that helped. And it was like the seventh game of the year, so that's when the Knicks was playing really hard and thinking that they got the dream team and whatnot. Um, Gobert played. He had 3 blocks. Porzingis did well. Everyone did well. This is when they were like thinking they're gonna make it, right? I don't think it's the same Nick team, and I'm not gonna risk it. After a big loss like tonight, I'm so embarrassed and upset with tonight's slate. I'm gonna stay away from a Derrick Rose kind of guy. Um, Shooting guard Courtney Lee. He's mid 20s. He's just got a 7 points and 15 the game before. I'm not interested. Carmelo needs about 40. He's been in the 20s and 30s. In 35 minutes, he put up 43 in that other game. But like I said, it's not the same team. Um, Porzingis is someone that I would definitely consider. He needs mid 30s. His last four game total 39, 26, 48, 45. I seen Porzingis get run even in a blowout. The last game they brought him back in at the end and they run him in 33 minutes. He's 44. I'm not afraid to play Porzingis in this matchup. I'm actually really considering it. I just have to see how it fits. For how much? 62. Yeah, I gotta check it up. I'm gonna write his name down and see if I can get to Porzingis with this nice core that I have. Something that I'll definitely consider for sure. Um, and then Hernan Gomez sucks. All right, you want to stay away from him. He just hasn't been doing anything. He needs about 30. He's been in the teens. It's not a good look for him. On the Utah side of the ball, Gobert is very interested. Gobert is hot right now. 55, 42, 53, 36. We just need 40 from him. Um, he's scoring, he's rebounding, he's blocking like crazy. He just had 8 blocks against Indiana. 5 blocks the game before. Every game he has a block in the last 10 games. Every game he had a block. He can get into some foul trouble. But the Knicks, I'm gonna stay away from Gobert for that price. I already got centers and Holmes and good value, and then I like Vucevic. But Gobert is cheaper than Vucevic, and I do need to save some money. Vucevic, man, Gobert just been so solid, man. I think in this New York games, they're gonna be a lot of rebounds, a lot of misses, a lot of rebounds. I can't. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on to Vucevic over Gobert. And that's a good decision for me to make. But if something happens where Vucevic has another flare up, or he's not playing, or he's limited, whatever the case is, then I'll definitely pick on some Gobert. And I need to save $500, so I'm gonna write down Gobert and Porzingis' name and see if I can do some switching around. Like I could definitely save $200 on Gobert, and then for Porzingis, how much is Porzingis? 62. That's another $100 if I get Gary Harris out. So with some shifting around, I might could afford Gobert and Porzingis and get out Harris and Vucevic, and I think that's a pretty good trade off. I'm actually gonna play around and see something with that right now. So if I take out Harris and Porzingis, then I could get Gobert as my center, Porzingis as my forward. I could put Thabo as a small forward, right? Thabo as the small forward, Porzingis as the power forward, and then Jimmy Butler as the guard. Boom. Now we only need to save $200, and this lineup is starting to look pretty good. Rashawn Holmes, Porzingis, Jimmy Butler, Gobert, Mirotic. Mind you, there's no Oh yeah, this lineup looks very good so far. I like it a lot. So I was able to save some money, and that's pretty much it. Well, Utah also have this Hayward there, so let's look at George Hill. Needs mid 30s. He's been kind of like mid 30s seems to be like his ceiling. Sometimes he'll get into the 40s, but um, I'm not gonna rely on 40s from George Hill. He just had a good matchup against Indiana. He disappointed me. Um, Ingles needs mid 20s. He's been in the 20s, spot on, man, in the last 5 games. So Ingles is definitely worth it. And he's only getting minutes in the 20s and he's producing with that. So what is he doing? He's getting assists and rebounds. That's his thing. Assists and rebounds. Quite persistently, right? So for 4,600, there's no one I can really get Ingles in. So I'm gonna chill off Ingles. Rodney Hood's been going through something. He's hurt. He has some knee issues. So 14.5 for Rodney Hood is not what you want. Hayward's been pretty hot, man. But he can be up and down. He just had 50, but the game before that, 32. Before that, 26. Before that, 47. So I don't know when is his day. I'm gonna be careful with Hayward. Joe Johnson is someone else I wanted to look at. He's 4K. Against New York, could be a no. He didn't play for New York. Sorry. He's also up and down. He can give you 12, then 20, 23, then 27. So Joe Johnson, I want to um, move forward with a little bit of caution as well. And that's the slate breakdown. I love it, man. I don't think I'm gonna have an update for this one tomorrow, man. This one looks pretty good. Jimmy Butler, Porzingis, Rashawn Holmes, Gobert, Kyrie Irving, Shafalosha. So to save 200, the two people that I'm looking at are Mirotic and Monte Ellis. I'm gonna move some things around. I'm gonna put Butler as my shooting guard, and then Ellis as the guard, right? And then I'm gonna put Mirotic as my forward and Porzingis up, just to kind of start things off. Mirotic against Detroit in 20 minutes, 17. So I think Mirotic, because Mirotic is very up and down. He can get all the minutes in the world and not do anything with it. Um, Tonight he did okay. I remembered him hitting a couple threes. So he had 8 points tonight. He had 28 points, So 11, 12, 13. So he was in the low teens today. So Mirotic, I mean, I kind of took a look at him because of the fact that Robin Lopez was going to be out tomorrow, but I'm going to leave Mirotic alone in the not so good matchup. And we're going to go shopping for a forward for 4,400. Now, it doesn't have to be a forward because we know that Jimmy Butler is forward eligible. So if we find a shooting guard for that price, or even just a guard of any sort, we can do some switching around. So let's put all for 4,400 and see what we find. Taj against Philly is not really a bad idea, man. We need mid 20s. He's a starter. We knew that he was heating up. It's just that I like to pick on Philly when it comes to bigs. In one game, he played 22 minutes against them and he put up 23.5. Just a thought. J.R. Smith hasn't been consistent. Ish Smith. Stausk has been pretty consistent. Shout out to Tim Hess. Tim Hess loves this guy. In 22 minutes, he gave us 19, about 5 times value. Um, who was out the last game that Stausk got extra run? They had an injury. It was Henderson, I think, that got out for. But if Henderson is gonna play, then I'm gonna stay away from Stauskas. Yeah, he was rested Monday, so Henderson is gonna play. I'm gonna use some caution with Stauskas. Um, Robin Lopez is gonna miss some games. For some reason, I want to go with Taj Gibson, man. I think Taj Gibson can give us what we want against the Sixers. Um, he's starting, and we can look at the low numbers, but it's been some blowout games, right? Um, Golden State was a blowout. He only played 21 minutes. Sacramento was a blowout, 16 minutes. Game before that, Toronto was a blowout. Brooklyn was a blowout. He still made value. Utah was kind of close, and if I get 22 from him, I won't really hate it. Um, Portland was see he played 33 minutes in Portland, so we just need him to get the minutes. And I think once the game stays close, he'll get the minutes. Philly can get blown out. Let me see what Philly totals have been. I'm gonna put over Gibson for now, and I'm gonna look at the totals in the Philly games. Um, let's see, Sarich. I don't think Philly. I know they fight. They put up a lot of fights. So this game was close. Boston they held close. They blew out Dallas. Golden State they was close. They almost won. They kept close. They kind of got blown out against LA. Portland was close. Um, they got blown out by Milwaukee. They got blown out by Detroit. So they do get blown out from time to time. I didn't really look at Sarich. Sarich has been pretty consistent, and but he can be up and down. He went from 28 to 41 to 30. For that price, we need mid 40s. I'm not really gonna pick. I'll go Covington before Sarich anytime. And this is it. This is my lineup so far. The person that I would switch out if something opens tomorrow would be Taj Gibson. I love everyone else. I like this one a lot, man. It has a lot of upside, and I didn't really compromise too much. So Irving, Butler, Porzingis, Gobert, Rashawn Holmes, Cephalosha, Monte Ellis, and Gibson. From the first look, I like it. I'll sleep on it, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.